The planet Zorath-7 was unlike any other place humans had ever seen. Its skies shimmered with hues of orange and purple, and the ground beneath their feet felt strange, almost spongy, as if it were alive. The air smelled faintly metallic but breathable, thanks to advanced filters built into their suits. This was humanity's first interstellar colony, a bold step into the unknown. For months, teams of scientists, engineers, and settlers had worked tirelessly to establish a foothold here, drilling for resources, studying the environment, and preparing for what they hoped would be a new chapter in human history. Dr. Rachel Meyer stood at the edge of a deep trench carved into the planet's surface. She adjusted her visor, squinting against the glare of Zorath-7's twin suns. Her team of researchers had been sent to explore this region because scans indicated something unusual buried below. At first, it seemed like just another geological anomaly, until they started digging deeper. What they uncovered sent shivers down her spine. "It's not natural," said Dr. Alex Carter, one of Rachel's colleagues, as he knelt beside the object. It was partially exposed now, its smooth surface gleaming despite being covered in dirt and dust for who knows how long. The artifact looked almost organic, pulsating faintly with an inner light that shifted colors slowly, like a heartbeat. "Whatever this is, it wasn't made by nature." Rachel nodded, her mind racing. "We need to get more equipment down here. If this thing has been here for thousands or even millions of years, we might be looking at evidence of intelligent life." Her words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Intelligent life meant contact, diplomacy, perhaps even alliances. But it also meant danger. Humanity had faced enough threats on Earth. Venturing into space brought entirely new risks. Still, curiosity burned inside Rachel. She had dedicated her life to understanding the universe, and this discovery could change everything. As the team continued working, Captain Logan Hayes arrived. Tall, broad-shouldered, and exuding authority, Logan led the military contingent stationed on Zorath-7. His presence alone commanded respect, or fear, depending on who you asked. He walked up to Rachel, his boots crunching softly on the alien soil. "What exactly are we dealing with here?" he asked, his tone sharp. Logan didn't have the patience for scientific jargon or speculation. To him, every situation boiled down to two things: threat level and response strategy. Rachel straightened, brushing some dirt off her gloves. "We're still figuring that out. It's clearly artificial, though, and it's emitting signals, low frequency, vibrations that suggest some kind of communication." Logan frowned. "Communication? Or a warning?" "That's what we're trying to determine," Rachel replied calmly, though she felt a flicker of irritation. Logan's default assumption was always hostility. While caution was necessary, jumping to conclusions wouldn't help anyone. Before either could say more, a sudden tremor shook the ground. Everyone froze, gripping tools or weapons instinctively. The artifact pulsed brighter, its rhythm speeding up as if reacting to something. Then, without warning, a beam of light shot upward from its core, piercing the sky. "Everyone, take cover!" Logan barked, already moving toward his soldiers. They formed a protective perimeter around the scientists, rifles raised. Rachel hesitated, torn between retreating and staying close to the artifact. Whatever was happening, it was too important to abandon now. The beam widened, forming a swirling vortex overhead. From within the vortex emerged a figure, a tall, slender being with translucent skin that shimmered like liquid crystal. Its eyes glowed faintly, and when it spoke, the voice echoed, not just in their ears but in their minds. "You have disturbed what should remain undisturbed," the being said. Its words carried weight, each syllable resonating with power. "Leave this place, or face the consequences." Rachel stepped forward cautiously. "We mean no harm," she said, raising her hands to show she was unarmed. "We're explorers. We came here seeking knowledge, not conflict." The being tilted its head, studying her. "Knowledge comes at a price. Are you prepared to pay it?" Logan moved quickly, stepping between Rachel and the alien. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice firm despite the tension crackling in the air. "And why are you threatening us?" I am Kelthar, the being replied. Leader of the Vrykons, this world belongs to us. Your intrusion will not be tolerated. Rachel glanced at Logan, silently pleading with him to keep calm. One wrong move could escalate the situation. We didn't know this planet was inhabited, she explained. If we had, we would have approached differently. Please, let's talk this through. Kelthar regarded her for a moment longer before turning his gaze to Logan. There was something unsettling about the way he looked at them, as if he could see straight through their bravado and fear. Finally, he spoke again. You have until your next sunrise to leave. If you remain, annihilation will follow. With that, the vortex collapsed and Kelthar vanished as suddenly as he'd appeared. The artifact dimmed, returning to its earlier state. Silence fell over the group, broken only by the sound of distant winds sweeping across the barren landscape. Well, Alex muttered, breaking the tension. That went well. Logan turned to Rachel, his expression grim. You heard him. Annihilation. These aren't the kind of aliens you reason with. And you think attacking them is the answer? Rachel shot back, her frustration boiling over. They gave us a chance to leave peacefully. Isn't that better than starting a war? A chance? That wasn't a negotiation. It was an ultimatum, Logan countered. They see us as invaders. Do you really believe they'll let us walk away without a fight? Rachel didn't respond immediately. Part of her wanted to trust Kelthar's words, to believe there was room for diplomacy. But another part couldn't ignore the cold reality. The Vrykons were far more advanced than humanity. Their technology, their abilities. It all pointed to a species capable of wiping out entire civilizations if provoked. Back at the colony, news of the encounter spread rapidly. Some settlers panicked, packing up what little they could carry in preparation to flee. Others argued for staying put, convinced that abandoning the colony would be admitting defeat. Meanwhile, Logan reported the incident to Earth, requesting reinforcements and authorization to defend the colony by any means necessary. Rachel, meanwhile, focused on studying the artifact. She believed it held the key to understanding the Vrykons and possibly averting disaster. Late into the night, she pored over data, running simulations and analyzing patterns. Every hour brought them closer to sunrise, and with it the deadline imposed by Kelthar. As dawn approached, the colony braced itself for whatever came next. Would the Vrykons honor their promise of peace if humanity left? Or would they strike, regardless? No one knew for sure. All they could do was wait, and hope that cooler heads would prevail. But in the vastness of space, where survival often depended on strength rather than wisdom, hope was a fragile thing indeed. The colony on Zorath 7 was a hive of activity as the deadline loomed. People moved quickly, their faces tense with worry. Some were packing supplies while others argued over whether to stay or leave. The air buzzed with conflicting emotions, fear, anger, and uncertainty. Rachel Meyer sat in her makeshift lab staring at the artifact that had started it all. Its faint glow seemed almost mocking, as if it knew the chaos it had caused. Logan Hayes paced outside the lab, his boots thudding heavily against the metal floor. He didn't trust the Vrykons, or Kelthar, their leader. To him, their ultimatum wasn't an offer of peace. It was a threat wrapped in pretty words. Every instinct told him to prepare for battle, but Rachel's insistence on diplomacy gnawed at him. Was she naive, or did she see something he couldn't? Rachel stepped out of the lab holding a tablet filled with data. Her eyes met Logan's, and for a moment neither spoke. Finally, she broke the silence. I've been analyzing the signals from the artifact, she said. They're not just random frequencies. It's like communication. A language. Logan crossed his arms. Great. So we can chat with them before they blow us up? She sighed, shaking her head. It's more than that. If we understand their language, maybe we can negotiate. Show them we're not here to fight. And what if they don't care about negotiations? Logan shot back. What if they already decided we're the enemy? Rachel hesitated. She wanted to believe there was still a chance for peace, but Logan's doubts echoed her own fears. The Vrykons were powerful, far beyond anything humanity had faced before. Still, giving up without trying felt wrong. "We won't know, unless we try," she said firmly. Before Logan could respond, alarms blared across the colony. Everyone froze, hearts pounding. On the monitors scattered throughout the base, images flickered to life. Dozens of Vrykon ships descended from the sky, sleek and otherworldly, hovering ominously above the settlement. Their presence was both beautiful and terrifying, like predators circling prey. "Everyone take cover," Logan shouted, his voice cutting through the panic. Soldiers scrambled into position, weapons raised. Civilians ducked inside buildings, clutching loved ones or belongings. Rachel stood frozen for a moment, watching the ships with wide eyes. Then she grabbed her tablet and ran toward the main communications hub. If there was any chance to talk. To the Vrykons, this was it. Kael'thar appeared again, his form projected holographically in front of the humans. His glowing eyes scanned the crowd, lingering briefly on Rachel and Logan. "Your time is up," he said, his voice resonating deeply. "You have chosen defiance." "No." Rachel stepped forward, ignoring Logan's attempt to pull her back. "We haven't made a choice yet. We're trying to understand you, to find a way to coexist." Kael'thar tilted his head, studying her. "Coexistence requires trust. You disturbed our relics, invaded our world. Why should we trust you?" "Because we're willing to learn," Rachel replied, her voice steady despite the fear bubbling inside her. "We didn't come here to destroy. We came to explore, to grow. Isn't that what your people once did?" For a split second, Kael'thar's expression softened, though it was hard to read beneath his shimmering skin. Then his gaze shifted to Logan and the armed soldiers behind him. "And yet, you bring weapons. You prepare for war." Logan stepped forward now, his jaw tight. "We're not the ones threatening annihilation," he said sharply. "You made that clear from the start." The tension between them crackled like electricity. Rachel glanced nervously between Logan and Kael'thar, sensing how easily this could spiral out of control. One wrong word, one misstep, and everything would fall apart. Just then, a young soldier near the edge of the group panicked. Whether it was nerves or a misunderstanding, no one could say for sure. But the sound of a single gunshot rang out, echoing across the compound. The bullet struck Kael'thar's projection, dissipating harmlessly since he wasn't physically present. Still, the damage was done. Kael'thar's demeanor shifted instantly. His glowing eyes flared brighter, and his voice grew colder. "You dare attack us?" he demanded. Without waiting for an answer, he raised a hand, and the Vrykon ships unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. Explosions rocked the colony, sending debris flying everywhere. People screamed, running for cover as smoke filled the air. Logan barked orders directing his troops to return fire, but their weapons were useless against the advanced technology of the Vrykons. Buildings crumbled, fires spread, and chaos reigned. Rachel crouched behind a fallen wall, clutching her tablet tightly. Tears stung her eyes as she watched the destruction unfold. This wasn't supposed to happen. She had hoped for dialogue, for understanding. Instead, humanity's first contact with an alien species had turned into a massacre. Logan appeared beside her, dragging her to her feet. "We need to get you out of here," he yelled over the noise. "If they capture you—" "No!" Rachel pulled away, shaking her head. "I'm not leaving, not until I try one last time." "Are you insane?" Logan snapped. "They're tearing this place apart." "I have to try," Rachel insisted, her voice breaking. "If I don't, who will? Who else can stop this?" Logan hesitated, torn between duty and desperation. Finally, he nodded grimly. "Fine, but I'm coming with you." Together they sprinted toward the center of the chaos where Kael'thar's projection still hovered. Rachel held up her hands, shouting to be heard over the explosions. "Stop, please stop, this isn't what we wanted." Kael'thar turned. To her, his expression unreadable. "Your actions speak louder than your words," he said coldly. "You attacked us. Now you will face the consequences." "We didn't mean to attack you," Rachel pleaded, That shot. It was an accident. A mistake. Please, give us a chance to make things right. For a long moment, Kael'thar said nothing. The attacks paused, leaving an eerie silence in their wake. Then he spoke, his voice quieter, but no less menacing. Mistakes are costly. Prove to me that your intentions are true. Otherwise, my patience ends here. Rachel swallowed hard, nodding. We'll prove it. Just give us time. Kael'thar studied her for a moment longer, then waved a hand. The Vrikon ships retreated, disappearing into the sky as suddenly as they had arrived. The colony lay in ruins, its people battered and broken. Rachel sank to her knees, overwhelmed by relief and guilt. They had been given a reprieve, but for how long? Logan knelt beside her, his face grim. You bought us some time, he said quietly. But next time, they won't stop. We need to be ready. Rachel looked at him, her eyes filled with determination. Then we'd better use this time wisely. As the survivors began to pick up the pieces, Rachel returned to her lab, determined to decode the artifact's secrets. Logan coordinated efforts to fortify the colony, knowing another attack was inevitable. Both understood the stakes. Failure meant extinction. Success meant survival, but only if humanity proved itself worthy. In the distance, the twin suns of Zorath 7 dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the devastated landscape. The night was quiet, save for the occasional groan of collapsing structures. Yet beneath the surface, tensions simmered. Humanity had been given a second chance. But whether it would seize it remained to be seen. The colony on Zorath 7 was a shadow of its former self. What had once been a hopeful outpost filled with dreams of exploration and discovery was now a broken, scarred place. The survivors worked tirelessly to repair the damage caused by the Vrikon's attack, but progress was slow. Supplies were running low, morale was even lower, and the looming threat of another assault weighed heavily on everyone's minds. Rachel Meyer spent most of her time in the lab, poring over data from the artifact. Her hands trembled as she adjusted dials and reviewed readings. Exhaustion etched into her face. She hadn't slept properly in days, driven by the belief that unlocking the artifact's secrets could save them all. If she could understand the Vrikon's language, or at least find a way to communicate more clearly, it might give humanity a fighting chance. Logan Hayes, meanwhile, focused on defense. He organized patrols, reinforced barricades, and drilled his soldiers relentlessly. Every day felt like borrowed time, and he refused to let anyone grow complacent. His demeanor had grown harsher since the attack, his sharp commands leaving little room for debate. To Logan, survival meant preparation, and preparation meant being ready to fight. Despite their shared goal of protecting the colony, Rachel and Logan clashed constantly. Rachel argued that diplomacy was their best hope, while Logan insisted that strength would determine their fate. "You can't reason with them," he said one evening as they stood near the edge of the compound. "They see us as invaders. Weakness won't win their respect." "And aggression will only make things worse," Rachel countered, her voice firm despite her fatigue. "We need to show them we're willing to listen, not just shoot first." Logan shook his head, frustration evident in his posture. "Listening didn't stop them from destroying half our colony. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." Before Rachel could respond, a transmission crackled through the comms system. It wasn't from the Vrikons, it was from Earth. President Daniel Harper's voice came through, calm but urgent. "Colonists of Zorath 7, we've received your reports. Reinforcements are en route. Hold your position until further notice." The news brought mixed reactions. Some settlers cheered, grateful for support from home. Others worried that Earth's intervention would escalate the conflict further. Rachel felt a knot form in her stomach. More troops meant more weapons, and, likely, more bloodshed. When the reinforcements arrived weeks later, they brought not only soldiers but also government officials tasked with assessing the situation. Among them was Senator Maria Alvarez, a soft-spoken woman known for her diplomatic efforts. She met with Rachel and Logan separately, listening intently to their perspectives. "I understand your concerns," Maria told Rachel during their meeting. But you have to admit, diplomacy alone may not be enough. The Vrykons are incredibly advanced. If we don't show strength, they might see it as weakness. Rachel sighed, rubbing her temples. I'm not saying we shouldn't defend ourselves, but if we go in guns blazing, we'll confirm everything they already think about us, that we're violent and unworthy of trust. Maria nodded thoughtfully. And what do you propose? I need more time, Rachel said. Time to study the artifact, to decode their language. If I can establish real communication, something deeper than threats, we might stand a chance. Maria promised to relay Rachel's request to Earth's leadership, though she made no guarantees. Afterward, she met with Logan, who wasted no time laying out his perspective. Senator, these aliens aren't interested in talking. They gave us one warning, and when we didn't leave fast enough, they attacked. Diplomacy isn't going to work here. Maria listened patiently, her expression neutral. Captain Hayes, I appreciate your candor, but war should always be a last resort. Are you certain there's no other way? Logan hesitated, glancing toward Rachel's lab. Maybe there is, but we can't afford to wait around hoping for miracles. Every second we delay puts us at greater risk. Back on Earth, the debate raged on. Military leaders like General Ethan Blake pushed for immediate action, arguing that showing force was the only language the Vrykons would understand. Admiral Stephen Carter, tasked with leading Earth's fleet to Zorath 7, agreed. If we strike, first we can cripple their ability to retaliate, he said during a high-level strategy meeting. It's risky, but it's better than sitting ducks. Others, including Senator Maria Alvarez, urged caution. We're dealing with a species far more advanced than us, she reminded the council. Provoking them further could lead to complete annihilation, not just of the colony, but of humanity itself. President Daniel Harper weighed the options carefully. In the end, he decided to send both military forces and additional scientists to assist Rachel. The message was clear. Prepare for war, but don't abandon diplomacy entirely. As Earth's fleet approached Zorath 7, Rachel continued her work, determined to make progress before their arrival. She discovered patterns within the artifact's signals, repetitive sequences that resembled grammar or syntax. Translating them was painstakingly slow, but she began piecing together fragments of meaning. One phrase kept appearing. Balance must be maintained. What does that mean? Alex Carter asked one night as they reviewed the findings together. Balance? Between what? Rachel shrugged, her brow furrowed in thought. Maybe between coexistence and destruction. Or maybe it's a warning, like they're trying to protect something. Before they could speculate further, alarms blared again. Everyone rushed outside to see several Vrykon ships descending once more. This time, however, they didn't attack immediately. Instead, Kael'thar's projection appeared, larger and more imposing than ever. You have summoned reinforcements, he said, his voice echoing across the compound. Do you truly believe this display of force will change our stance? Rachel stepped forward, clutching her tablet. We're not here to fight. We're trying to understand you, to prove we're not a threat. Kael'thar's gaze shifted to the growing number of human ships orbiting the planet. Yet you bring armies. You arm yourselves. Tell me, Dr. Meyer, which path do you truly choose? Rachel faltered, unsure how to respond. Behind her, Logan tightened his grip on his rifle, glaring at the hologram. Enough games, he said sharply. What do you want from us? Kael'thar's glowing eyes narrowed. We want nothing from you except your departure. Leave this world and perhaps we will spare yours. The ultimatum hung heavy in the air. Rachel knew they couldn't leave. Not without answers. Not without understanding why the Vrykons were so adamant about driving them away. But she also knew that defying Kael'thar again could mean disaster. We need more time, Rachel pleaded. Just a little longer. Let us prove we're worth trusting. Kael'thar studied her silently, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. Very well. But know this. Patience has limits. Cross them, and you will regret it." With that, the projection vanished, and the Vrykon ships withdrew once more. The colony breathed a collective sigh of relief, though the tension remained palpable. Logan turned to Rachel, his expression grim. "That's it. No more chances. Next time they burn us to the ground." Rachel didn't argue. She returned to her lab, her mind racing. Time was running out, and the stakes had never been higher. Humanity's survival depended on finding a way to bridge the gap between two vastly different species, or convincing the Vrykons that coexistence was possible. Outside, the twin suns set again, casting long shadows over the battered colony. In the distance, the artifact pulsed faintly, its light flickering like a heartbeat. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the Vrykons watched and waited, their intentions as mysterious as the stars above. The human fleet arrived at Zorath 7 with a thunderous roar, ships descending from the sky like metallic birds of prey. Admiral Stephen Carter stood on the bridge of the flagship, his sharp eyes scanning the alien landscape below. The colony was in ruins. Smoke still rose from crumbled buildings, and the settlers looked more like refugees than pioneers. It was clear that the Vrykons had already made their presence known. Admiral Carter's orders were simple: secure the colony and prepare for retaliation if necessary. He wasn't interested in diplomacy or second chances. To him, strength was the only language that mattered. As his troops disembarked, he addressed Captain Logan Hayes, who greeted him outside the main compound. "What's the situation?" Carter asked, his tone clipped and direct. Logan gave a quick briefing explaining the Vrykons' ultimatum and their devastating attack. "They're powerful, sir," he said. "Their technology is far beyond anything we've seen. If they decide to hit us again, we'll need every advantage we can get." Carter nodded grimly. "Then we'll give them something to think about. Deploy the heavy artillery, fortify the perimeter, and tell your men to stay sharp. We're not here to play defense." Meanwhile, Rachel Meyer watched the military build up with growing unease. She had hoped Earth's reinforcements would bring scientists and resources to help decode the artifact. But instead, it seemed like they were preparing for war. When she approached Senator Maria Alvarez, who had accompanied the fleet, her frustration boiled over. "This isn't what we needed," Rachel said sharply. "More weapons won't solve anything. We need time to communicate with the Vrykons, not provoke them further." Maria sighed, rubbing her temples. "Dr. Meyer, I understand your concerns, but you have to see this from their perspective. Humanity feels threatened. Sending soldiers isn't just about fighting. It's about showing the Vrykons that we're not helpless." "But it is about fighting," Rachel argued. "Every gun, every ship, they're sending a message that we're ready to escalate. What happens when the Vrykons respond in kind?" Before Maria could answer, an explosion rocked the ground nearby. Everyone scrambled for cover as alarms blared across the colony. Through the chaos, Rachel saw flashes of light in the distance, the unmistakable glow of Vrykon energy weapons. The attack had begun. The battle was unlike anything humanity had ever faced. Vrykon drones swarmed the skies, firing beams of pure energy that tore through human ships with ease. Their orbital fortresses loomed overhead, massive structures bristling with weapons. Admiral Carter barked orders from the flagship, directing his fleet to counterattack, but their efforts were futile. Human missiles and lasers bounced harmlessly off the Vrykons' shields, while their own weapons wreaked havoc on the human forces. Rachel crouched behind a crumbling wall, clutching her tablet tightly. Around her, people screamed and ran for shelter. Soldiers fired wildly at the drones, their bullets useless against the advanced technology. Buildings collapsed, debris raining down on survivors. It was a nightmare, a one-sided slaughter. Logan appeared beside her, dragging her to her feet. "We need to move," he shouted over the noise. "The command center's falling apart. If we don't regroup, we're done for." Rachel hesitated, glancing toward her lab. The artifact was still inside, its faint glow visible even through the smoke and dust. "I can't leave it," she said firmly. "It's our only chance to understand them." "You'll die if you stay," Logan snapped, grabbing her arm. There's no point in decoding anything if none of us are alive to use it. Reluctantly, Rachel followed him as they sprinted toward the makeshift bunker where other survivors had gathered. Inside, the air was thick with fear and desperation. Wounded soldiers lay on the floor, groaning in pain, while engineers worked frantically to repair damaged equipment. Admiral Carter paced back and forth, shouting into his communicator, "Retreat! Fall back to the secondary position." But retreating wouldn't be enough. The Vrykons weren't just attacking, they were dismantling humanity piece by piece. Ships exploded in fiery bursts, sending shards of metal spiraling into space. Ground forces were overwhelmed, their defenses crumbling under relentless assault. It was only a matter of time before the colony was wiped out entirely. Amid the chaos, Rachel refused to give up. She pulled out her tablet, reviewing the data she'd gathered from the artifact. There had to be something, some clue, some pattern, that could turn the tide. Her eyes scanned the screen, landing on a sequence she hadn't noticed before. It repeated multiple times, almost like a warning. Balance must be maintained. What does that mean? Alex Carter asked, leaning over her shoulder. His face was streaked with dirt and sweat, his voice hoarse from shouting. I don't know, Rachel admitted, but maybe it's important. Maybe it's why they're so determined to drive us away. Before she could explore further, Logan interrupted. We need to do something now, he said urgently. If we wait any longer, we're finished. Rachel nodded, her mind racing. She couldn't fight the Vrykons directly, but perhaps she could reach out to them one last time. Using the colony's damaged communications array, she broadcast a message, not in English but in the fragmented language she'd pieced together from the artifact. Kael'thar, she began, her voice trembling. Please, listen. We don't want to fight. We came here seeking knowledge, not destruction. If there's a way to coexist, we're willing to find it. For a moment, there was silence. Then, unexpectedly, Kael'thar's projection appeared once more, shimmering faintly amidst the wreckage. His glowing eyes locked onto Rachel, and his voice resonated deeply. You continue to defy us, he said coldly. Why should I believe your words now? Because we're running out of options, Rachel replied, her voice breaking. We've lost so much already. If we fight, we'll lose everything, please. Give us a chance to prove ourselves. Kael'thar studied her silently, his expression unreadable. Then he turned his gaze to Logan, who stood nearby, rifle in hand. Your people cling to violence, he said. Even now, they prepare to strike again. We're scared, Rachel admitted. And when we're scared, we make mistakes. But that doesn't mean we're beyond redemption. Show us another way. Kael'thar hesitated, his translucent form flickering slightly. Finally, he spoke. Very well, one final test. Prove to me that your intentions are true. Fail, and annihilation will follow. With that, the projection vanished, and the Vrykon attacks ceased abruptly. The sudden silence was deafening, broken only by the groans of the wounded and the crackle of distant fires. Rachel sank to her knees, overwhelmed by relief and exhaustion. They had been given another reprieve. But at what cost? Logan knelt beside her, his face grim. That's it, he said quietly. No more chances. Next time they'll finish us. Rachel nodded, tears streaming down her face. Then we'd better make this count. As the survivors began cleaning up the wreckage, Rachel returned to her lab, determined to unlock the artifact's secrets. Admiral Carter coordinated the remaining fleet, vowing to rebuild and retaliate if necessary. Both knew the stakes. Failure meant extinction, but success required finding a way to bridge the gap between two vastly different species. Outside, the twin suns of Zorath 7 dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the devastated landscape. The artifact pulsed faintly, its light flickering like a heartbeat. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Vrykons watched and waited, their intentions as mysterious as the universe itself. The colony on Zorath 7 was quieter now, but the silence felt heavier than the chaos of battle. The survivors moved slowly, their faces pale with exhaustion and fear. Every step they took seemed to echo in the stillness, a reminder of how close they had come to total destruction. Rachel Meyer sat in her lab, staring at the artifact as if it held all the answers, but its glow offered no comfort. Instead, it felt like a ticking clock, counting down to humanity's final test. Kael'thar's words haunted her. Prove to me that your intentions are true. What did that mean? How could humanity prove itself to a species so far beyond them in power and understanding? Rachel knew this wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about earning trust. But trust couldn't be forced. It had to be built. And time was running out. Logan Hayes paced outside the lab, his boots scuffing against the uneven ground. He carried the weight of failure heavily. His soldiers had been overwhelmed, his strategies rendered useless. For someone used to being in control, the helplessness gnawed at him. When he saw Rachel through the lab window, hunched over her tablet, he stepped inside without knocking. "We can't keep waiting," Logan said sharply. "Every second we waste gives them more time to prepare for another attack." Rachel looked up, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "I know," she replied softly. "But rushing into something without understanding what we're doing will only make things worse. We have one shot at this, Logan. If we mess it up..." She didn't finish the sentence. They both knew what failure meant. Annihilation, not just of the colony, but possibly of Earth itself. The Vrykons were watching, judging every move humanity made. One wrong step, and everything would end. Logan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Then tell me what you need. Whatever it is, I'll get it for you." Rachel hesitated, then pointed to the artifact. "This thing, it's our key. I think it's some kind of interface, a way to communicate directly with the Vrykons. But I can't figure it out alone. I need help." Logan nodded, already moving toward the door. "I'll round up whoever's left. Scientists, engineers, anyone who can make sense of this thing." As word spread, a small group gathered in the lab. Among them was Alex Carter, whose hands trembled slightly as he adjusted his glasses. There was also Dr. Emily Park, a linguist who had been studying alien languages before the attack. Together, they formed a team of unlikely heroes, united by desperation and hope. For hours they worked tirelessly, analyzing the artifact's signals and testing theories. Rachel focused on the repeating phrase she'd discovered earlier. Balance must be maintained. She believed it was central to the Vrykons' worldview, a guiding principle that shaped their actions. If humanity could demonstrate an understanding of that idea, maybe, just maybe, they could bridge the gap. Meanwhile, Logan coordinated efforts to fortify the colony further. He knew Kael'thar's test wouldn't wait forever, and they needed to be ready for anything. Reinforcements from Earth continued arriving, bringing supplies and fresh troops. Admiral Stephen Carter pushed for immediate retaliation, arguing that showing strength was the only way to survive. But Logan resisted, siding with Rachel's belief that diplomacy was their best chance. Days passed, each one feeling longer than the last. Progress in the lab was slow but steady. Emily managed to decode fragments of the artifact's language, piecing together phrases that hinted at the Vrykons' history. According to the translations, the Vrykons had once faced extinction, themselves not from natural causes but because they had provoked another advanced species. That species had responded with overwhelming force, nearly wiping the Vrykons out entirely. They learned the hard way, Emily explained during one of their late-night sessions. That's why they're so cautious now. To them, we're exactly what they used to be: reckless, dangerous, unwilling to listen. Rachel nodded thoughtfully. "Which means we have to show them we've changed, or at least that we're capable of changing." "But how?" Alex asked, frustration evident in his voice. "We can't rewrite history overnight." "No," Rachel agreed, "but we can start by proving we're willing to try." The breakthrough came unexpectedly. As Rachel adjusted the Yike artifact's settings, it emitted a low hum, resonating with the equipment around it. Suddenly, holographic images appeared, swirling above the surface like ghostly shapes. They depicted scenes of destruction, planets burning, civilizations crumbling, all accompanied by the same phrase, "Balance must be maintained." "This is it," Rachel whispered, her heart racing. "This is their warning, their lesson. They destroyed others because they were provoked, and now they're determined to stop anyone else from making the same mistake." Emily leaned closer, studying the images. "So, what does that mean for us?" "It means we have to prove we're different," Rachel said firmly. "Not just with words, but with actions. Something big enough to show we understand." Logan listened intently as Rachel explained her plan. It was risky, dangerous even, but it might work. Using the artifact as a conduit, she proposed broadcasting a message directly to the Vrykons. Not in English or fragmented translations, but in their own language. The message would acknowledge their history, express regret for humanity's mistakes, and pledge a commitment to coexistence. "It's our best shot," Rachel concluded. "If we fail, at least we tried." Logan hesitated, weighing the risks. Finally, he nodded. "Do it. But I'm coming with you." Together, they prepared for the mission. The artifact was transported to a secure location near the edge of the colony, where its signal could reach the Vrykon ships orbiting overhead. Rachel programmed the message carefully, double-checking every detail. Logan assembled a small team to provide protection, knowing the Vrykons might see the transmission as a threat. When the moment came, the tension was palpable. Rachel activated the artifact, her hands trembling slightly. A beam of light shot upward, connecting with the Vrykon fleet. The message played, its words echoing across the void. "We see your pain. We hear your warnings. We seek balance, not destruction." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, Kael'thar's projection appeared once more, larger and more imposing than ever. His glowing eyes scanned the humans, lingering briefly on Rachel and Logan. "You have taken a great risk," he said, his voice calm but tinged with curiosity. "Why should I believe your words?" Rachel stepped forward, her voice steady despite her fear. "Because we've seen what happens when balance is broken. We don't want to repeat the past. We want to learn from it." Kael'thar studied her silently, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. "Your gesture is unexpected, but actions speak louder than words. Prove yourselves worthy, and perhaps there is hope." With that, the projection vanished, and the Vrykon ships withdrew once more. The colony erupted into cheers, but Rachel and Logan exchanged wary glances. This wasn't victory. It was a stay of execution. Humanity had been given another chance, but the real test was yet to come. Outside, the twin suns of Zorath 7 rose again, casting golden light over the battered landscape. The artifact pulsed faintly, its glow softer now, almost comforting. Somewhere, beyond the horizon, the Vrykons watched and waited, their patience wearing thin. Humanity had proven it could try, but whether it could succeed remained to be seen. The days that followed Kael'thar's cryptic response were filled with tension. The colony on Zorath 7 was quieter now, but the calm felt fragile, like a thin sheet of ice over deep water. Everyone knew it could shatter at any moment. Rachel Meyer worked tirelessly in her lab, trying to decipher more of the artifact's secrets. She believed the key to proving humanity's worth lay within its glowing surface, but time was slipping away. Logan Hayes spent his time patrolling the perimeter, his rifle slung over his shoulder. He had seen too much destruction to trust the Vrykons completely. Every shadow, every flicker in the sky made him uneasy. Still, he kept his doubts to himself, knowing that Rachel's plan was their best and only hope. If diplomacy failed, humanity would face annihilation. And Logan wasn't ready to give up yet. Rachel's breakthrough came late one night when she noticed something new in the artifact's signals. Hidden beneath layers of complex patterns was a single word: sacrifice. At first, she thought, it might refer to the Vrykons' past, the sacrifices they had endured during their near extinction. But as she studied it further, She realized it meant something else entirely. It was a challenge, a demand for humanity to prove its sincerity. She shared her findings with Logan and the others. "It's not enough to just say we understand," Rachel explained. "We have to show them. Sacrifice is about giving up something valuable to prove your commitment." "What does that mean for us?" Alex Carter asked, his voice tinged with worry. "It means we need to offer something," Rachel replied. "Something big. Something that shows we're willing to change." The group debated what that sacrifice could be. Some suggested dismantling their weapons or shutting down parts of the colony to demonstrate restraint. Others argued for sending a delegation to meet the Vrykons directly, even if it meant risking their lives. But none of these ideas felt sufficient, not when facing a species as powerful and cautious as the Vrykons. Then Logan had an idea. "What if we destroy the artifact?" Everyone turned to him, stunned. "Destroy it?" Emily Park asked. "But it's our only way to communicate with them." "Exactly," Logan said firmly. "They gave it to us or left it here for a reason. Maybe it's a test. By destroying it, we show them we're not here to take what isn't ours. We're willing to let go of something valuable to prove we're different." Rachel hesitated, staring at the artifact. It had been their lifeline, their connection to the Vrykons. Destroying it felt like losing their last chance. But Logan was right. It might be the ultimate gesture of trust. "We'll need a way to make sure they see it," Rachel said finally. "If we destroy it quietly, they might think we're hiding something. We need to do it openly, where they can witness it." The plan was set. Using explosives rigged by Logan's team, they prepared to demolish the artifact in full view of the Vrykon ships orbiting above. Rachel recorded a final message, explaining their actions and reiterating humanity's desire for coexistence. When everything was ready, they gathered near the edge of the colony, the artifact resting in the center of the makeshift platform. As the countdown began, Rachel felt a strange mix of fear and hope. What if this didn't work? What if the Vrykons saw it as weakness instead of strength? She glanced at Logan, who stood beside her, his expression unreadable. For all his toughness, she could see the uncertainty in his eyes. 3, 2, 1. Logan's voice trailed off as the explosives detonated. A bright flash lit up the area, followed by a deafening boom. The artifact shattered into pieces, its glow fading into darkness. For a moment there was silence. Then, the skies above erupted in light. Vrykon ships descended rapidly, surrounding the humans. Kael'thar's projection appeared once more, larger and more imposing than ever. His glowing eyes scanned the scene, lingering on the remnants of the artifact. "You have destroyed what we entrusted to you," he said, his voice resonating deeply. "Why?" Rachel stepped forward, her heart pounding. "Because it was yours, not ours. We wanted to show you we're not here to take. We're here to learn, to grow, to coexist." Kael'thar studied her silently, his expression unreadable. Then he turned to Logan, who stood nearby, his hand resting on his rifle. "And you? Do you share her beliefs?" Logan hesitated, then nodded. "I don't trust easily," he admitted, "but I trust her. If she believes this is the right path, then so do I." For a long moment, Kael'thar said nothing. The air seemed to grow heavier, charged with anticipation. Finally, he spoke. "Your actions are unexpected. Few species would willingly relinquish such power. Perhaps there is hope for you yet." With that, the projection vanished, and the Vrykon ships withdrew once more. The colony erupted into cheers, but Rachel and Logan exchanged cautious glances. This wasn't victory. It was a beginning. Humanity had been given a second chance, but the road ahead would be difficult. Over the following weeks, the Vrykons maintained a distance, watching silently from orbit. They didn't attack, but they didn't engage either. Rachel continued her work, piecing together fragments of knowledge about the Vrykons' culture and history. Slowly, communication improved, built on mutual respect rather than fear. Logan focused on rebuilding the colony, ensuring it was sustainable and peaceful. Weapons were stored away, and efforts shifted toward cooperation rather than defense. The settlers began planting crops, building homes, and creating a life that respected the planet they now shared. Back on Earth, news of the truce spread cautiously. Some leaders praised Rachel and Logan's efforts, while others warned against lowering their guard. Admiral Stephen Carter remained skeptical, arguing that the Vrykons could still pose a threat. But President Daniel Harper urged patience, recognizing the importance of diplomacy. As time passed, humanity started to adapt. The lessons learned on Zorath-7 rippled outward, influencing decisions on Earth. Wars became less frequent, resources were managed more carefully, and exploration missions prioritized understanding over conquest. The encounter with the Vrykons had changed humanity, not just how it saw the universe, but how it saw itself. Rachel often found herself gazing at the stars, wondering about the Vrykons and their vast empire. Were they truly allies now, or simply observers waiting to see if humanity stumbled again? She didn't know, but she held on to hope. Hope that the sacrifices made on Zorath-7 had planted the seeds of a brighter future. One evening, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon, Logan joined her outside the lab. "You think they'll ever fully trust us?" he asked, his voice quiet. "I don't know," Rachel replied honestly, "but I think we've earned a chance to try." Logan nodded, a small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth. "That's more than we had before." Together they stood in silence, watching the alien sky fade into darkness. Somewhere beyond the stars, the Vrykons watched too, their intentions still a mystery. But for now, peace held steady. A fragile, hard-won peace built on trust, sacrifice, and the belief that balance could be maintained. And in that moment it was enough.